Yes, I would have let it go after last week's press conference, but then he did it again at this week's press conference, and it's like a dozen times. It is so obvious that he's trying to get it out there, that European virus, for which he was praised in the New York Times, smart move, according to an op-ed columnist there, and at first, I was just going to mention it and move on to something else with the comment, please, please, please let this virus be white. Let it come from white countries. And then I realized that for other than the cognoscenti, they may not have any idea what I'm talking about because it sounds so completely insane. But that is the American left in America. They just have this Jones for white people. They will use the adjective white, as I describe in the column. It's just an evil intensifier. So Hillary will talk about, Trump's fondness for white authoritarians and white strongmen. And, you sit back and think to yourself, I don't know, Africa has a fair number of dictators, and, whoa, they're all over Asia. Who are all of these? Oh, the Middle East, that's sort of chock-a-block with beige dictators. Who are all these white authoritarian? No, she's talking about one person, Russia. I suspect that probably has a lot to do with liberals settling on Russia as the focus of their insane, lunatic conspiracy theory on Trump. It was imaginary. They made it up out of whole cloth. So it could be any country in the world. Could have been Kenya. Could have been North Korea. Could be Syria. No, it's got to be Russia. And there's Hillary talking about Putin as being the worldwide leader of a white supremacist movement. There was Sarah Jong. Your listeners, I'm sure, are familiar with her. She was on the New York Times editorial board. She's still a staff writer there, which it was really pretty stunning that the New York Times did not immediately fire her for absolutely vicious, nasty, cruel, if white people cared, I guess, anti-white tweets about how she enjoys. Oh, it's sick how much pleasure I get being cruel to old white men. And white people, do they burn faster in the sun? Hashtag cancel white people. I hate to make the obvious point. It's no place near this. A white person or a non-white person says, all lives matter, and it's a microaggression. We've got to rip that down. Or what's the other one that gets put up on campuses sometimes? It's okay to be white. An entire campus will shut down over such a sign. That is such a vicious hate crime. And here you have, New York Times we're the official anti-white website here. I've also noticed over the years, and this is the last one I'll mention here, the last one I mentioned in the column, just the thrill our media gets when a refugee gets elected someplace. An historic move, refugee elected. They just love sticking their finger in the eye of historic white and black America. Have we been oppressing refugees all this time? There was a refugee talent that was being kept out of local elections. No, but it makes international news, and then the refugee, the only racism in the article you will find is from the refugee complaining about, yes, well, it was a bunch of old white men on the city council. It's just weird, Lars, and no one ever talks about it. That is 100% why Cuomo is insisting on calling this virus the European virus. But, as I point out in the column, no, perhaps Europeans brought it to New York City. Everyone, even the New York Times, America's leading anti-white site, admits that it came from China. It's beyond dispute. So if we're just talking about the last person that transmitted it, then we should be calling it the Chris Cuomo virus because he got coronavirus and then was the proximate cause of transmitting it to his wife and his son. Why not the Chris Cuomo virus? It's just utter madness.
Well, and let me tell you something else. The two women who are in the U.S. Senate who allegedly represent yours truly, because they're officially my senators, although I've never voted for either one of them. Patty Murray and Maria Cantwell have now joined in with Kamala Harris, who I guess has time on her hands because the nation doesn't have bigger problems right now, but she's no longer running for president, and I don't think she's going to be Joe Biden's running mate. She's introduced an actual resolution before the Senate, which, because it's coming from the Democrats and they are in the minority in the Senate, isn't likely to go anywhere. But she wants the U.S. Senate to officially condemn speech, to condemn calling it the China virus, which I've been calling it since January. I've also called it the Wuhan flu, because I like if it's not alliteration, then the rhyme, whatever it is. But what's wrong with describing where it, people have called the show, Ann, and said, look, I'm talking to Ann Coulter, by the way. They've said, you can't call it the China virus. I said, well, let's try this. Is it a virus? Well, yeah, it's a virus. I said, did it come from China? Well, I guess. I said, so we call it the China virus. We name things based on, how do you describe them? If you say that guy from Poughkeepsie, you say, well, what guy? Well, the guy from, which guy at work? The guy from Poughkeepsie. Oh, yeah, I know that guy. Okay, so you're wrong because you name him the guy from Poughkeepsie? There's a disease that's named for one of the little towns in your home state. Isn't your home state Connecticut?
Lyme, Connecticut. Yes, Lyme disease. Exactly right. No, it's madness, but I just want people to understand this isn't just like random disassociated craziness. This is part of the left's hatred for historic white America. Don't miss that point. They prefer an African refugee, but okay, Chinese, at least they're not white. It distorts our politics, our vocabulary, our understanding of things, the media. That is all the left cares about now. I know all these liberals, for example, who supported Elizabeth Warren because they hate Wall Street, and they think she's going to get tough on Wall Street. And I've told them, I hate Wall Street too. I promise you, Elizabeth Warren is going to forget about Wall Street the same way Donald Trump forgot about the wall and cut taxes instead. No, Elizabeth Warren, it's going to be nothing but, whether it's president or vice president, pedal to the metal on identity politics. It's going to be pronouns, transgenders. That is what defines the Democratic Party now, hating historic America.
I got to tell you, Ann, politics has always reminded me a little bit of high school and the worst parts of high school. Because earlier this week, Nancy Pelosi was saying Donald Trump is fat, he's obese, he's not healthy. And I'm thinking his doctor okayed him taking this because you can't just go to CVS and buy hydroxychloroquine. So today she's saying Donald Trump has dog dew stuck to his shoe, and so does everybody else. I'm thinking, this isn't even a high school. It's more like junior high, or maybe the last year, 6th grade in elementary school, where you say, I don't like that boy. He smells like dog dew, or he's fat. And I'm thinking, how did we, in the middle of a crisis, degrade to our leaders, calling names like this? And I understand Donald Trump calls names too, but it's a whole lot more creative. Little Marco and Lion Ted is a lot more creative than he has dog dew stuck to his shoe from the House Speaker, the third in line to the presidency. It's crazy.
Yes, Trump in the name-calling department, slandering, so on and so forth, Trump is absolutely more sinned against than the sinner. Including the sexual harassment business. It's weird to have the left and the never-Trumpers constantly denouncing Trump for, he's so cruel, when, they're on TV calling him every name under the sun.
We will make America great again.